Kia ora. Hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you very much for joining us for our Wednesday weather update for October the 19th. We are monitoring high pressure as it rolls into New Zealand for our long weekend, but it's not going to be perfectly settled everywhere. We do see a little bit of wet weather, but the real wet weather is over in Australia. More low pressure over there being held up by the same high that's bringing the lovely weather to New Zealand for the long weekend. So let's make sense of all of it. On the animated wind map, you can see the big high pressure zone out in the Tasman Sea, and on the other side of that, the low pressure zone that's slowly moving towards it and will slow down, and that's why the rainfall totals around parts of Queensland and New South Wales are quite high. But the rest of the weather map looks very normal for this time of the year, with the spring-like westerlies blowing through the Southern Ocean and coming up a little bit around the New Zealand area, but it's about to get a little bit colder over the next couple of days in New Zealand. But let's start with the rain maps and the next 3 days here in New Zealand. Not a lot for the North Island, the blue, green and yellow at the bottom of the scale. So a couple of showers in the blue up to maybe 5 or 10 millimetres in the yellow. No rain Nelson over to Blenheim, and no rain for southern parts of Canterbury and northern parts of Otago, just in sort of a dry area. The heaviest rain over in Fiordland, which is a rainforest, so that makes sense. Not a lot though, only 35 millimetres or so for the next few days coming up. And there'll be a bit of snow through the mountains and ranges as well. It won't be going down too low, but it might affect some of the higher level farms. Over in Australia, that's where the real rain is falling. Biggest totals in parts of Queensland and New South Wales, so not a great deal of change from our map yesterday. Not so much though for Victoria and South Australia now. So that system's moving to the east, but we do have a few heavy falls further to the north there, but hopefully a bit more of a breather now for parts of Melbourne and a large portion of Victoria. But that heavy rain further north comes with thunderstorms as well, so definitely worth keeping an eye on for the next few days ahead. Now let's take a look at the next 7 days ahead. This is the departure from normal, and what it shows you very simply is in the red areas, drier than average, white, normal rainfall for this time of year, and blue, we're leaning wetter than usual. So quite easy to see in Australia, this rain event standing out, and in the New Zealand side, much drier. You can see that rain down around Fiordland, normal sort of rainfall, but further up the country, it gets drier than it should be for this time of the year, which is pretty good timing when you think about it with the long weekend on the way. So let's take a look at the maps. Here we are for Thursday. The high is there, the low next to it to the west in Australia, and the rainmakers are in the middle. Now over on the New Zealand side, we take a bit of a little step back tomorrow, more towards the cooler weather. So the southerlies are down here and they will move into Southland later on. Before it, it's a windy west to southwest wind. It won't be too bad, but there'll be a few showers still around the western side of the North Island, mostly dry elsewhere. By Friday, in comes the cooler southerly right across the South Island and southern and eastern parts of the North Island. You'll also notice your temperatures down wide at Upper, Hawke's Bay, Gisborne, Wellington as well. But on the other side, Taranaki northwards, you won't really notice that cooler change because it comes with clearer, sunnier skies, and that actually helps it warm back up again. So won't be so cool in the north, but certainly eastern areas take a temperature drop. And like I say, the other side, northerlies with patchy rain, although dropping back to showers now, so there's the good news for the eastern side of Australia. So we've got some frost risks. They're not too major though for New Zealand. This is Friday morning, so Thursday night, Friday morning, the purple area with the highest risk for frosts. No real risk for the North Island. And then we wake up on Saturday morning, frosty weather along that eastern side or below zero if the wind's blowing, and a bit patchy in the South Island. So we're hopeful it won't be too problematic for those of you who are growing, but there might be down here in the south, particularly some of the vineyards there. Just keep an eye on it. Anywhere from northern Southland up to central Otago look to be the highest frost risk. And you can drill down deeper, go to ruralweather.co.nz. We've got New Zealand's only frost forecaster. So this one for Gore showing a high chance of a frost on Saturday morning. Look at your high though, 20 degrees. So cold start, warm day on the way. Here's Cromwell in Otago with a possible frost for you on Saturday morning. So that's the frost information. Let's go into the weekend. So Saturday, New Zealand dropped down a wee bit because we wanted to show you the Australian weather, but there's nothing to really talk about in New Zealand. Mwah, beautiful. Sunny and settled. There might be some cloudy areas down in the southwest and a few cloudy areas still lingering in coastal zones, but inland should be absolutely beautiful. Now in Australia, that low has really fallen apart, so we're just seeing showers, but one or two of them could be heavy, so that's just worth keeping an eye on. By Sunday, the next low pressure zone moving in towards South Australia and Adelaide. We've also got a low pressure zone up here near Brisbane, but in New Zealand, high pressure in control. But the change on Sunday, these milder winds from the subtropics come down and around. So Southland, Otago, Canterbury, you are warmer on Sunday, but a little bit windier as well. By Labor Day Monday, a bit of a change in the south. The next cooler change comes back through again. So southerlies or easterlies, both of those aren't too warm, and there'll be showers all around the South Island, except for the very top. The top corner, probably mostly dry for the whole day. So the North Island's under high pressure, that's a big high there, so settled mostly for the North Island as well, but that little southerly change might just come into Wellington and southern parts of Wairarapa, while on the other side, the northerly winds are starting to pick up. So as we go into next week, Tuesday, back to work for most people in New Zealand, high pressure in control again, but there are a few showers left over from what was around on Monday. So a couple of those will go into the North Island, a couple of them stuck around the west coast. Otherwise, that's still a pretty powerful high, 1031 hectopascals. The higher that number goes, the more settled it usually is. And on the other side, low pressure just to the south of Victoria, about to move through, with Tasmania now getting some wind and rain from that. So there we go. That is the forecast for the long weekend and through to the middle of next week. I'm Philip Duncan. I'll see you on Thursday with our next update.